Hey guys, Captain Shivy here. Today I'm going to be making this video off of popular request. So many of you attended the Redstone Baseball event that was hosted here at Rose Field, and many of you asked if I could do a little behind the scenes showcasing how the redstone works. So that's what I'm going to be attempting to do today. So first thing I'm just going to go over is how the game is played, just for anyone who might not have been there. And so first thing is, obviously it's baseball. You have a baseball field, and on the field here we have different targets. Each one represents a different hit. So the game is you use a bow and arrow, and you would stand at home plate, and you would shoot at the targets. 3 misses is an out, or if a defender catches it, it's an out. The different colors represent what different type of hit it is. So the red here is a single, the yellow is a double, the blue is a triple, and the purples are home runs. And now I'm going to go over to the scoreboard here just to show what's on it. So you have the blue team score, the red team score, you have the base runner display, the outs, and the innings. So as an example, if someone hits a double, you will see that runner get put on second base. If someone hits a triple, all runners will advance 3 bases, a run will count, and you will see that runner go on third. Now to show the little buttons over here, which are essential for controlling the game. Over here we have the outs. Every time there's an out recorded, someone will press this button, and you'll see on the scoreboard there that 1 out will be illuminated. There's 2. And then when you hit the 3, the little innings will switch. You see the arrow went from the top to the bottom of the first inning. And now whenever we score a run, it'll count on the red. So let's just say someone on red comes up and hits a home run. You get a little fireworks show. Run comes all the way around. And now the red team has scored a run. So that's just kind of how the game works. And the last thing I'm going to show is over here there is a reset button. So whenever the game is done, I put it under an iron trap door so that way you don't press it by accident. But you press it, it clears the scoreboard, resets everything to how it should be, and it's ready for the next game. And with that, now we'll get into the redstone. Okay, so here we are on my single player world where I originally built my Redstone Baseball game. So my idea to build this game came from a YouTube video I saw from about 10 years ago where someone made Redstone Baseball with targets on the field very similar to this, and he used minecarts underneath the field as his representation for base runners. I saw that and I thought it was cool, and I decided it'd also be cool to try to make a more advanced and more modern version of the game with redstone. So that's exactly what we have here. And so first thing I'm going to show you is the targets. So as you can see, they are target blocks and they're redstone lamps on top. The lamps are purely visual. They're just there to kind of help you see if you hit the target, because obviously telling from way back there can be a little bit tricky, especially if these in the very back. So now I'm just going to fly around underneath and show you how they work. Each type of hit has its own individual line. So here we have the home run line, the blue triple, yellow double, and the single red. All these lines feed all the way back to the scoreboard over there, and I'll just show you how they work. So here, for example, is a single target. There are the target blocks you're trying to hit, and on these blocks here we have redstone dust. That dust feeds straight into repeaters, into a block, onto this dust, and that goes to the scoreboard. The repeaters here are to make sure it's always a full single strength coming out, so that way even if you hit the very edge of the block, it will always be a full single strength. These lines come down to here and feed into here, and this is the main chamber for the redstone. We are directly behind the scoreboard, and this is kind of where the whole brains for the game work. So first thing I'm going to show you is how the base runners work. So the base runners are done right here at this little device. This is called a shift register, and it works basically just as its name implies. It's a register that holds data, and every time you input something, it moves everything over 1 bit. And so each little bit here is representing a base. This is first base, second base, third base, home plate. As you can see, this torch is on. That means we have a runner on second, and that feeds up to the display here. Now, every time we register a hit, it comes through here. It goes along this line. This monostable triggers a short pulse, which feeds into the bottom of the register. And what that does is it moves the bits over one and adds a new one here. The double, the triple, and the home run work the same way. They feed up this glowstone tower into the same line so we get a new runner and move the others over one. The difference comes in these repeater relays. So what these do is it delays the signal, and once it reaches its time, it comes through and feeds down this gray line, which does the exact same thing and moves runners over one, but it does not add a new runner. So double feeds into the single basically, and then it comes back and pulses one more time to move them over one. The triple feeds into the double and the single. It pulses a third time. Home run, same thing. So I'll just demonstrate this real quick. Let's just register a single. You see the runner second, move to third, and now we have a runner on first. The double, it's going to do the same thing, but move an extra time. So you see runners move over, new runner, and they move over a second time. And you'll notice the runner, when he reaches home plate, it automatically clears itself, so that way if you score multiple runs in a play, they can all count. And it feeds down this line, which goes to the score counter. And then when 3 outs are recorded, that's what this line is for. These torches you see are off, but when 3 outs are recorded, this line will turn off, allowing these torches to turn on, and that resets all the bases. So that's how base running works. Next, we're going to look at the outs. So the out button, if you remember, is behind home plate way down there. It feeds down this red line, which comes all the way through here, and into this device, which keeps track of the outs. All this is a unary counter, and basically it works just like counting on your fingers. 1, 2, 3. Every time you pulse it, one torch will turn on, going from right to left. The lines go up to the out display that you see here. And then when it reaches 3 outs, it is wired to automatically reset itself. It will reset the base runners, and the iron line goes up to the inning counter. So every time you register 3 outs, it will either switch the arrow for the inning, or it'll add 1 to the counter. So we'll demonstrate that here. We have a test button for the outs. Here's 1 out. You see the first light came on. 2 outs, same thing. And now remember, for the 3rd out, we have 2 base runners on. So when we reach the 3rd out, there's 3 outs. It'll reset itself. And now you'll see the base runners have been cleared. That's all there really is to it for the outs. Alright, so now we're going to go over the scoring in the innings. And the reason I'm at this scoreboard and not the main one is because I had to make some changes to it to make it compatible for Nerd.nu. Because if you play on Nerd, you know the hopper timings are different than vanilla. And the original one used hoppers to count for timing, or for counting. Obviously, that kind of broke some things, so I had to rewire it with a different system to make it compatible. So first thing we're going to look at here is the displays themselves. The scoring and the innings are both the exact same type of display. They're just a 7-segment display with a counter built in on the bottom. I did not come up with this design. It is from a YouTuber named Mizuma Games. He's very good for redstone displays. He has a ton of them. This is one he designed. Like I said, it's just a 7-segment display with a counter built in. It was exactly what I needed, so I just built it right into the game. So if you remember, right here is where home plate was represented on the base runners, and this is the score line. The score signal feeds up through here, and this is how it gets into the blue scoring through this little torch tower. We have a piston here that's currently open because it's considered blue's turn to score. And then on the red side, if the same line feeds up, but it is currently closed because we do not want both teams to be able to score at the same time. That would break the game. These pistons are controlled by this iron circuit here. It's wired that one of them is always on, one is always off. And it just feeds down from the inning control up there. Now, how the actual counting works is I have a separate display for it here. So I did have to rewire it from the original Lightspeed Minigames design. It used hoppers. I chose to use pistons and cauldrons because that timing is consistent with Nerd. So how this works is the input comes in through here into this block. And when this happens, it causes this piston to fire up and down very quickly. And cauldrons will trigger comparators. And how this is wired is that whenever a signal comes through here, these comparators are created so that this signal will always increase by 1. And down there, it will decrease by 1. And it's set up so that there's always one piece of redstone dust that is off, allowing one torch to turn on. This device on top is known as a red coder. And you'll see every time we activate it, this dust will turn on and this will turn off, and allowing this torch to turn on. If we power it one more time, same thing goes to this one. And so each torch represents a number, 0 through 9. So if I just trigger it real quick, you see that the cauldron fires up and now it slides over 1. If we do it again, it goes to 2, and so on and so forth. And if we get all the way to the end, the observer tier will take a carry signal, you see they're linked together, and it'll reset this to 0 and it'll add 1 here. The two work independently of each other. It doesn't know, like if you have 12 here, it doesn't know it's 12, it just thinks 1 and a 2. But that's basically how it works. And these torches feed up through all the wool you saw. So if we come back up here, the torches basically act like a little torch tower within the wool. And they're set up so they only power the segments that are needed for that specific number. So let's see, right now it's set to 0. Correct, so it's set to 0. So it's powering all of them except the middle segment. And then if we change it to 1, let's see. Let me just add a run real quick. So you heard it fire. Now we have a 1. Now if we look at this, only the left side will be powered. You see that here. All the others are turned off because the torches are aligned in that proper way. And now the inning counter works the exact same way. However, the inning counter is wired with a T flip-flop, which triggers the arrow here. So you have a top of the inning and a bottom of the inning. And now the counter is wired so that it only counts when it goes back to the top of the inning. That way we have it so it's not counting every time we change top and bottom. We only want it to change when we complete a bottom of the inning. Now if remember the signal comes up from the 3 outs, feeds through here, feeds into the T flip-flop. T flip-flop controls top and bottom. And then this signal comes back down. That's what controls, remember, the pistons here controlling which team can score. And then right here is where it feeds into the counter for the innings. And now the orange reset circuit is set to always reset this to 0. And then it has a delay that feeds back into the circuit so that it counts right back to 1 after it resets to 0. Because there's never a 0th inning, obviously, it's always at top of the first. And it resets the top with this orange circuit. It is wired to only activate if it is in the bottom. If it's already in the top, it'll just be ignored. That's what this torch is for. And yeah, with that, that's basically it. That's kind of how it works. So if you want to just see it in action one more time, I can show you. Let me just grab a bow. So we have a double. Runner moves a second. Let's just say we get an out. There's an out. This one, let's go inside and look at it. Let's say we hit a triple. There's your triple. Moves over. You saw these lines went up to scoring. You can hear the pistons firing. me just break out of here. You see we now have a 1 on the red scoreboard. And let me just go in here to show 3 outs. So we have an out. And that's the 3rd out. And now you see it's a little tough to see, but the inning did flip from bottom to top, and it also did count 1. It's a lot of very carefully timed circuitry, but it really wasn't that hard to set up once I got it going. I do have a little prototype over here. This is kind of what started it. So you see here we have our bases, we have our base runners, and this was actually a binary counter. I didn't know if I wanted to do binary 7 segment. But yeah, that's how it works. Thanks for watching.